Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Villa Park podcast for your favourite show of the week. And when I do it once a year, when Rich is on holiday, your favourite show of the year. But it's not about me. It's all about Gareth. Gareth, how you doing, mate?
I'm very well, mate. How are you?
Yeah, mate, not bad. Always a pleasure to be in the hot seat with you, with your expertise. All the usual stuff. Please give us a like. Please subscribe. It always helps the channel. We're motoring towards 5,000 subscribers, and the support has been amazing over the last few years. But hopefully you appreciate all the content we put out. But I do think this is probably the top level one that we do. So I won't keep boring everyone with my voice. We'll dive in. Gareth, another win. Obviously, fantastic away winner. Just before we go into this in terms of detail, I just wanted to get your thoughts initially on, there's an article that's broken overnight around the PSR, SCR stuff. Jacob Tanswell, great article in The Athletic. It's been posted by a few various people. What's your thoughts on that, just initially?
Yeah, I think we all knew that something was obviously not troublesome, maybe, but something had to be done in terms of PSR and the new UEFA rules, of course. I think that was probably the right player to be involved in that, because I don't think we'd want to get rid of, like you say, like the other top Martinez, Watkins or Ramsey or anyone else like that. I think that was the option that they had, because they knew they had Tielemans and Kamara in there. They probably thought that they could get away with getting rid of Arogbanam and Douglas Luiz, and it panned out really well in the end. I think were we as close as what they say we were? We don't know. But I mean, the article by Tanto is fantastic. It's a great read, and people should go and look at it to understand all these rules. And this applies, of course, up and down the leagues and everything. And it's got to be spot on. You can't your revenue has got to be sort of spot on in terms of your outgoings. But they're right in what they say. How do we progress as a team, as a club? How do we then, if we can't bring in enough revenue to compete with the big boys, then how do we ever progress? So you're entitled, therefore you need someone like Unai Emery to do a fantastic job, to keep getting you in the Champions League, to attract sponsors, for then you to have money to spend on players, for then you to get sort of, attempt to win the league, essentially, is what everybody's trying to do. It's obviously been a really difficult time, but my God, we've got some people in there who have obviously done it well.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a bit of a racket, really, is it, when you think about it? It is. It's just crazy to think that in any other world, if you and I were to start I don't know, a bakery tomorrow, but we had £1 billion, we'd be able to put all of the might of our finances behind marketing, behind obviously the look and feel of the product, the shops, everything. You get great staff. Imagine any other industry where you're stopped from investing in it because of rules which do favour the teams that are already established.
Yeah, especially. Sorry, come on.
I was going to say, and that is the thing, which you're trying to create a fair product. But it even though it's a bit of a conspiracy theory, it does feel like when we see the way that Chelsea are still behaving in the transfer market, where the Man United are, it does feel like it stinks of quite a lot of unfairness from my perspective, and many Villa fans, I agree.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I think, it's on you. It's the onus is on you as a club to attract big sponsors, to attract massive revenue markets in Korea, for example, or Japan, like Tottenham have with Son. The amount of money that does actually bring in is incredible, and that's what you're trying to look into do. You're trying to find revenue streams that people are untapped almost. So, or investment, of course, but then that's limited as well. So,
yeah. It is, and the only solution seems to be to get an absolute genius in charge and have two incredible owners. And because we've got the fan base, we've obviously got the history is one thing. Revenues are massively improving. You've only got to see what happened, obviously, with that Times Square thing that they did obviously over the US tour. You know, Aston Villa Football Club taking prime place in, you know, probably the most famous advertising space in the entire world is massive. There's the Betano deal, obviously, which is massive increase, the Adidas. And obviously, it's been very popular in terms of the kit launch and all the training stuff coming out. So obviously, it's going in the right kind of direction. But I think the thing for me which was interesting was how close to the bone it seemed to be. And there's all these rumours it would have been a 10-point deduction. I don't know if you saw the bit about Louise where the Brazil players were supposed to not go somewhere in Vegas, and it looked like the deal might not happen with Juventus. But I also thought it was interesting that it seemed like Louise was the one they were prepared to jettison a little bit rather than other players. What's your views on that?
Yeah, I thought, like I said, you know, earlier, I think he was the right man. I think because he was the one that's going to attract the most money. I think it's a tricky one because you're looking at contract lengths. You're talking about how much sort of, you know, would Martinez fetch a lot more than Louise, for example? Would Watkins, as a premium striker, which are very rare, would he attract more, for example? Could we? The trouble is then you've got to get another one in. Now, if you're restricted by the PSR rules, how do you then shell out a load of money get rid of Watkins for a load of money? Then you're not going to be able to spend probably as much on another striker, which are at a premium anyway. And so it's catch-22, but I think he was the right person to probably go, Douglas Luiz, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think so. And I think he was the one position where we had in Yuri Tielemans someone that is not an absolute like-for-like replacement, but a lot of similarities in terms of their creativity, in terms of their style of play. And of course, at the end of the season with Louise, there was the rumoured Olympiacos post-match fallout, obviously with what happened with the missed penalty. His form did dip a little bit. So I think he went with a heavy heart for all Villa fans. But hey, we're still here. Yeah. I think it hopefully as well, just sort of finally on this before we dive into the analysis, I think it hopefully puts a few Villa fans just a little bit more at ease in terms of some of the potential anger that was out there around why did we not do more? Why are we so weak on the right-hand side? Why have we not, got that? I think you've been calling for it on what I've seen on Talking Tactics, and I've been doing the same in the other pods, just calling for a passer, a creative player. But I think we all hopefully can agree now that the club have done everything they can do basically within the realms of what they've been allowed to do.
Yeah, and we should say that we're not the only teams who have done it. Leicester have won their appeal this morning by the looks of it about sort of their possible points deduction. That was from them coming from the Championship to the Premier League, of course. So we're not the only clubs, and I think Everton are probably involved in that as well, a lot of teams. So we're not the only ones. It's just that we've become a bit more public about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just finally, if you look at the transfer market, Newcastle fans haven't been happy. Man United fans haven't been happy. Spurs fans haven't been happy. Everybody, it feels like, even Man City, 4 times consecutive Premier League champions, are worried that if Haaland gets injured, what they're going to do. So it feels like everybody is in the same boat. So we have to be reassured that it's not just us anyway.
Yeah.
Well, listen, everybody, get your thoughts and comments in anything around the PSR, SCR, the Louise sale, everything you've seen regarding the article. Get your thoughts in on that, and also get your thoughts and comments in on the performance at the weekend. Leicester 1, Aston Villa 2, and we'll dive into that now, Gareth. So, general thoughts for you in terms of this second consecutive away win?
Yeah, reasonably happy. I'm never very happy because I'm an analyst, but I think it was a good performance overall. I think the loss of Leon Bailey is a big one. I don't think that's going to help us out at all. I thought there are certain areas we could have done better, I think, especially first half. But second half, I think we really sort of go against the grain a bit, take it to them a little bit more. And it was a good away performance, a nice solid away performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's dive into the visuals then. So first one we've got up here is the match stats. So were you surprised some of these things in terms of Leicester having a bit more possession, considering the type of football that we normally play, etc.? Any other thoughts on that?
Not necessarily. I think it's away from home, so you're always sort of like a little bit away from home, unless you're the top sides like Man City or whatever. But what I took a lot of it interesting stuff. The field tilt here is the percentage of time spent in the attacking third. Now Leicester have obviously 56% have spent a lot of time in our attacking third there, and it's one of them sort of things. But yeah, also I think we should look at the average goal kick length. Look how much we went long. 44 metres. That's, we've gone long and Leicester have gone short and built up from the back. So that was an interesting sort of a different sort of thing. A lot of the time we sort of tended to go a little bit longer out to the flanks and everything. So that was an interesting take.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting actually. Like literally our goal kick length is almost like 4 times longer than them, and we're seen as being the absolute epitome of build up from the back type football. Even if you'd have seen us in the Bristol Street Motors, as it's called now, trophy last night, the under-21s, it was exactly the same, build up from the back. So for Leicester to do that against us is an interesting one.
I think a lot of it was to do with they were worried about Leicester's high press, and I think they just decided, especially with Vardy, who's very busy in and around the press and is the trigger for them. So yeah, I think we're just a bit concerned about that.
Well, it feels like we've learnt from that a little bit from last season when we were hurt a couple of times quite badly, weren't we? Liverpool, Newcastle, certainly opening day. A few of the games.
Yeah.
Okay. So next up, we've got the passing networks. What's your analysis on this?
Yeah, I've added the substitutes in the hexagon shapes of the substitutes for both sides. So we're just rigid, and it's a bit of a busy graphic. So we'll take that off, I think, in future. But yeah, I mean, you can see here that the darker shades, if you like, from us are from Martinez to Pau Torres, and we can see again those triangles appearing on the right and the left-hand side, but more on the left-hand side. Now, me and Richard spoke about this a lot in previous pods about building up from the left-hand side. We sort of tended to go away from that against West Ham, but we've sort of seen it come back in against Leicester. And we've obviously decided we're going to progress through that way through Pau Torres, Luca Digne, Jacob Ramsey when he come on, and Yuri Tielemans, of course, there.
Yeah. Do you think that'll make us a bit predictable this season with the fact that we are a bit weaker on the right?
Yeah, possibly. We had this, but we had the same conversations last season about, we needed a plan B. We needed to be able to build up from both sides and everything else. But I think, to be honest with you, we're gonna see more a centralised kind of play. I think they're going to try and sort of, instead of use them as a dummies outlet almost on the left, and try and play into Rodgers and everything else through central areas.
Yeah, and big expectations obviously on Matty Cash now when he's back fit to be able to offer that threat down the right as well. Let's bring up the shot map then. So obviously XG is massively up there for us. Shots was pretty comparable. Obviously, goals was pretty comparable. Just obviously the important one to us, went our way extra. What's your views on this?
Yeah, there's two. The Watkins sort of chances were there again, weren't they? And it was sort of the big chances we can say were 4, and we converted 2 of them. So it's not such a bad gig. And I think the expected goals on target there for Hermansen, by the way, 2.34. So he actually did really well in goal for Leicester by keeping us out for more. So yeah, not much more to say about that really.
Yeah. I mean, it was comfortable, wasn't it? Everything considered, like what we did really. For not a vintage away performance, and that for me is the mark of a good team. You don't play well away from home particularly, and you can win. Okay, so next up here we've got the out of possession shape and the average defensive action height. So yeah, just give us a bit of a view on this, Gareth.
Yeah, we're quite a low, you could call it a mid to low block, I guess. But Torres, always the deeper of the two. And we can see that Onana and Tielemans both sort of backing up fullbacks quite well. And I was a little bit worried about this in the first half, because there seemed to be quite a chasm in midfield almost when we were out of possession, with, like I say, Onana and Tielemans sort of covering them fullback, those half space areas nearest the fullbacks. And the graphic actually backs that up quite well. So I'm quite pleased to see that. But yeah, it's just about being central and about sort of Rodgers being closer to Watkins, and I think we can see that there, the 24 and the 11. So it's important that we try and sort of keep that shape well, and you can see a 3 on the left and a 3 on the right, so you can tell that they're trying to support each other in wider areas against Leicester.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, XT, expected threat.
Yeah, again, sort of, it's quite low numbers for everybody essentially, but that Leicester sort of just after the goal, there was where they nearly sort of scored again. So we have to be sort of wary about later on in the game. And Rich and I spoke about sort of dominating games in certain periods, but this is probably what I'd expect to see from an away performance. You're kind of sort of having periods in the first half and periods in the second half, but Leicester did create a fair bit, but even so, our XT is higher than theirs, given the quality of the pass and the chances that we took.
Yeah, it is inevitable, isn't it? Ultimately, that that you are going to come under the cosh a little bit away from home, particularly. And it's not many teams away from home go 3 or 4 up and put the game to bed. So, 2-0 even itself, 1 goal back, crowd behind you, a bit of momentum, a couple of substitutes. It can change massively quickly, can't it?
Yeah, exactly. And there's no, it's true what people say. I speak to analysts at Premier League clubs all the time, and there is no easy game in the Premier League. It doesn't matter who you're playing. It doesn't matter who you are. Manchester City could easily get beat by Southampton away, couldn't they? A freak result. We've seen it all before. So it's about being consistent away from home and being solid.
Well, you've only got to look at the Bournemouth comeback against Everton, haven't you, the weekend?
Exactly.
The latest ever.
And a very hostile ground, I might add as well. Goodison Park's really difficult to play in. So,
yeah, it is absolutely. It's actually a very, very good point that I often get to think overlooked. Like when you're there and the crowd are up, it is massive hostile, but it feels like it's more hostile now to the home team than the away team, which obviously doesn't help. Yeah. So let's look at the saves then to talk us through this one.
Yeah, interesting because Hermansen, as I said, sort of faced actually expected, got 2.34 expected. So we could have scored near on 3 goals, and we probably should have done, to be honest. But he's prevented just 0.34 and Martinez is 0.06. But the shots were too close, really, for him to be able to do a great deal about it. But yeah, it's just a general graphic to show sort of from a striker's perspective, if you like, on-field perspective about where those shots went and if they were able to be saved or not.
Yeah, I thought Watkins actually, I think he should have shot actually rather than trying to go round the keeper for the first one he was played through. I think he had an opportunity to do what we never advise people to do, but to do a little toe poke maybe just to beat the keeper.
I definitely think the keeper went down a little bit too quickly almost, didn't he? So I think there was an outside of the foot dink or something could have been happening there. Yeah. I think he should have scored that, Kev. I've got to say, I think he should have scored that.
He was 1-on-1 with the keeper, wasn't he? And he tried to go around him, obviously. But I agree. I think you've got to be, I think maybe more match fit on it, Watkins does. I thought he did pretty well, actually. Filthy assist from Morgan Rogers through the legs. I mean, absolutely glorious. Held off the defender while he was really all over him. And I thought he did pretty well. I think he didn't get it quite in the corner, but you've got to give credit to the keeper there, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. He doesn't look quite up to speed yet, does he? For some whatever reason, he doesn't look quite right. But yeah, you've got no choice but to play him, and I think he did okay.
Well, he's withdrawn from the England squad. We've had that confirmed. Everybody, let us know, obviously, your thoughts on that, along with all of the analysis here. But do you think that Watkins' injury is something a bit more long term, or do you think it's like actually a lot of the big clubs have done over the years, where we are protecting one of our key assets in the business? Are Villa finally playing the game that Fergie used to play when, or Beckham's come down with a knock for this meaningless friendly?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got a young baby though, isn't he, as well? So maybe he's being kept up at night. I don't know.
Maybe he is. The next one, interesting one. It sounds like an obscure Netflix sci-fi show, Zones of Control. I don't think it is that. So do you want to tell us what it is?
Yeah, just obviously the blue areas are where Leicester controlled the game most of the time, and the claret are where Aston Villa controlled the game most of the time. And we can see, it's interesting to see that on the Villa side, the claret, we can see a lot of that left. A lot of that is a left bias. Now, we know that we played a lot through the left-hand side. We've seen it on the passing networks and we've seen it on the defensive shape. So we know that backs that up. So we can see that on the left-hand side of the defensive side of things and almost sort of in forward areas, we can see that we controlled that a little bit well. But Leicester generally controlled the centre of midfield and the centre of the pitch. And we know that Tielemans and Onana spent a great deal of time, like I said earlier, covering them fullbacks and just being out in those zones. So that's probably why that was a little bit sort of Leicester control.
Yeah, he's been massive, hasn't he, Onana, particularly in terms of his work.
Yeah, huge. Yeah, definitely. And I think you need that. And I think Tielemans is exactly the same.
Yeah, well, we gave him a man of the match. We thought Tielemans was probably out of Onana, Digne. Obviously, Duran had an impact, but yeah, I think Tielemans has been, for me, he's been the best player so far this season. First 3 games, Tielemans, I'd say.
I can't disagree with you.
Yeah, close shade second, probably to Morgan Rogers. Okay, let's look at the high turnovers then.
Not much to say. Just where sort of like, that this parts of the pitch where we're looking to, if you would see a lot of high pressing teams, you might see a few more, if it's organised properly, a lot more high turnovers. But yeah, just one shot ending one each, and neither team really looked to press that high. Leicester did. That's why we sort of went long, but not a massive amount.
Yeah, there wasn't much to show there, was it? Do you think Leicester, for me, I was going to say, what's your thoughts on this? They feel like, I think they might be okay, but they feels like they're a bit, how can I put it, a bit of a functional kind of, not that exciting team. You've got Skip, you've got Winks, that midfield. You're not, you're probably going to be quite sturdy and grind out a few results, but it's not. I can't see them scoring loads of goals. I can't see them, having an easy time of it. What's your thoughts on how well they'll do this season?
Yeah, they look quite vanilla, don't they? In
Yeah,
the way that they play and everything else. I think if he gets the best, if Jamie Vardy manages to stay fit, he's going to get you a few goals. He'll get you a few pens, for example. I agree with you. I think they will probably be okay. I think they're going to be competing with the likes of probably Everton and Nottingham Forest, possibly maybe Brentford down there.
yeah,
Brentford are playing quite well though, but I think they'll be competing with Nottingham Forest. So I think that game against Nottingham Forest, the home and away games, maybe we can see a better marker.
yeah. I agree. I do think it won't be as cut and dried as everyone thinks with the bottom
No.
three teams. But you're absolutely right. It's I think Vardy is the absolute key for them, isn't he? He's the absolute key. Okay, couple more slides to show. So we've got here the pass end location. So anything to bring to the fore here?
No, again, see where we can see Martinez. Let's say that 4% in the goal mouth, and let's look at that 7%. That's where probably Pau Torres. We've seen that on the average positions in the passing network, so we know that that's going to be a more common trend. And we can also see that out to the left-hand side, where the other 7% is. We could say that that's where Luca Digne sort of is in and around. So we know that that backs up from what we've seen, the passing structure and everything. So we know we went that way. On the right-hand side is quite interesting, the 7%. That's quite interesting. I don't quite didn't see a great deal of activity out that way, but yeah, it seems to be sort of higher up.
Yeah. How do you think the debutant Lamar Bogard did?
I think he was good. I don't think you can knock him, can you? At all.
No, no. But interestingly enough, that he played last night, so
Yeah.
maybe Nedeljkovic is going to be the first choice for the Everton game with cash out.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I must admit, I was impressed with Nikovic. I think the pace that he's got is incredible. I think we need to utilise that a bit more.
Yeah, and I think at home against a team which is obviously not at the best start to the season, and we've got a great record against at Villa Park. I think it's probably the game for him, isn't it? When we should have a lot
Yeah,
of possession.
yeah, and I think if you can get Negovic and sort of Onana and sort of Bailey or Ramsey on that right hand side, quick 1-2s on, especially against teams like Tottenham who like to play a high line, for example, and getting running in behind down the right hand side.
Yeah, it could be great, particularly if you've got Ramsey up to speed, Watkins up to speed, Bailey back obviously firing. International break might have come at a good time, I think, for us potentially. Just we got, obviously it wasn't the easiest start to the season with West Ham away than Arsenal. So to have 6 points out of 9, a couple of injuries, chance to reset. Hopefully the rehabilitation goes well over the next 2 weeks. We're all keeping our fingers crossed.
Yeah, and the first, I think it's Everton, isn't it, at home the next game. So I mean, it's a good chance, isn't it, against an Everton side that are not full of confidence at all to try and sort of get another win there, really.
Yeah, I mean, Gareth, the thing is for Aston Villa now, if we really want to have a go this season, but the September is looking like an incredible opportunity for us as a club. We've got Everton at home on the 14th. We've got Young Boys who I think have lost, like, I don't think they've won this season in 6 games. So I don't know if you've seen that stat. So we've got obviously them in the Champions League, and then after that, I think we've got Wolves at home. We've got Wickham away then in the League Cup, and then we've got Ipswich away. So you've
Yeah,
got to say,
you've
fancy.
got a chance to field sort of. I don't want to say against young boys, but you've almost got a chance to field 3 weakened sides against teams like Wickham. What was the other one you said? Sorry,
We've got Wolves
Wickham.
as well,
Well,
Ipswich.
yeah, the young boys game and the Wolves game. And the Wickham game, not the Wolves game, sorry, but the Wickham game. I think you've got a chance to rest players. I wonder how he'll do against young boys because it's the first game in the Champions League. He could possibly, we should be beating teams like that. They're a good side, but we should be beating teams like that. I wonder what he'll do against young boys. That's the key for me because you've got a chance to. You said another game: young boys, Wolves, Everton.
Ipswich.
That's the game. So again, you probably wouldn't have to. I mean, it's a league game. It's a bit of a quandary. But if you've got players that are coming back, you've got 3 games there where you could possibly rotate a little bit more.
Yeah, Villa, if they've got real ambitions to be a top 4 team again, you've got to say we're strong favourites in all of those matches, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I, I did wonder whether you were gonna say, I wonder if he'll play the young boys against young boys, but
Very good, Kev. Yeah, we don't normally do jokes on this one. You know,
did we not?
we're quite a serious pod on this one.
Sorry, I'm letting the side down, aren't I? I can't help it. It's my innate childish personality. Isn't it?
No, but I understand. I mean, I think it's a chance to play the young boys game. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I've thought about that a lot lately, and I think what sort of team will he put out? If it's the first game, does he want to get points on the board, or knowing the league is the bread and butter against Wolves the following week, what is he going to do? So I'm not quite sure what he.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? I think he'll go strong being the first game. I wonder whether, they'll be maybe not ready to go, but by the end of the month, is Ming's going to be back close to it, Kamara, because that'll be a massive, massive boost, wouldn't it?
I think for me, Kamara is huge. I think that, and I've said to Rich on the last podcast, I wonder if that changes the shape of the team.
Yeah, I wonder. It'd be interesting to see. Well, final slide. Not a particularly exciting one, but with everything else we've discussed. But here we are. It's the half spaces in the zone, 14 passes. So just give us a final overview on this.
Yeah, I just think it's sort of one of them sort of graphics where we just like to see where teams are playing and sort of in what areas, and are they playing in dangerous areas. And we can see more for us on the left-hand side of the left half space, and for Leicester on the opposite side. So you can it's two different teams doing two different things, but it's important to play in and around these areas. And I think this is where players like the McGinns, the Rodgers, the Ramseys, they like to be positioning themselves. So I think that's important. I don't know. We've discussed about McGinn before. Does he stay in the side?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I can't believe I'm saying this, but the one that might seem obvious, particularly with Morgan Rodgers' progression. If obviously Bailey's fit, Tielemans is influence now on the team.
I think I don't want to. I'm like you. I don't want to say anything because he just feels sort of awful saying it. But it's almost like bringing the energy. He's coming a little bit towards sort of later years or almost as a footballer. Let's say, and if you've got Rodgers and Ramsey in those two positions, those two sort of tens, if you like, in position, the energy that they are able to show in getting up and down, I think is really important.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Interesting. And just on that note, if we had a fully fit squad, what would your defence be?
I think it would stay the same.
Yeah, no Mings.
Not right now.
No,
I think for the passing and everything, I think Pau Torres that's why he was brought in. He wasn't brought in for defensive capabilities, no matter what people might say. He is quintessential to that build-up play. That is what we've seen it, and it's proved it. The transfer has been backed up nicely. Defensively, all right, he's a bit sort of, we could say that Mings is probably a better defender overall than Pau Torres, but it's just a right back thing. I think Ned plays, and I think it stays the same. I think Dini stays in.
You couldn't see like in a say a cup final situation as doing a Man City-esque Konza right back, Carlos, Mings, Torres Mings maybe.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that if it depending how they want to. We've discussed it before about this 3-2-5 shape in the build-up, and I'm surprised. I know people have sort of slated me for it, but I'm surprised to have not seen Konza more at right back and for us to build that way in those three at the back like that. I'm surprised at that.
I feel like if we had Onana in the team as well, if we had a back four, almost sort of, mimicking the Stones, Ake, Akanji, Walker thing that City do, I can't see us conceding many goals.
But I think that's what you are right in your theory is correct, but it's Kamara.
Yeah, he's the one, isn't he? He's the one. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Gareth, great chat. Apologies for bringing down the seriousness of the pod. All jokes aside, everybody get your comments in. Please give us a like, give the video as much support as you can. Please subscribe if you're not already. We'll be back with more content coming up. I'm sure there'll be a fans forum soon, and we'll do something over the international break to keep everybody occupied. So, yeah, as always, we appreciate everyone's support, and remember, we'll follow the Villa.